This podcast is part of the Zeo to Hero Podcast Network.
AvenuePodcast.net.
Hello, all my beautiful people. It's time once again for another fun episode, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this one a lot. I got to have on the Murder Man this time. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I am talking about Colt Killbane. He is a wrestler out of the Oklahoma area, and we're going to talk to him today about what he's been doing in wrestling and how he got into it and all different kinds of fun things like that. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. We even got into video games. It seems to be a trending topic with my episodes over the last few weeks, just talking about video games and stuff like that. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I had a lot of fun recording this one, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. And for those of you who are here just to hear the Colt Killbane episode, welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and listen to some of the other great episodes I have here as well. So, if you guys are as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If you give a dad a podcast. Hey, Dad.
So where did you actually train at?
I made a really good career out of being able to bump, sell, and I had a punch me face.
I wasn't about to call you dad, so.
Seriously?
I felt like it was in an anime or something.
People get really mad at those videos for some reason. Like, it triggers certain people, yeah.
Wow.
I was actually lost as an independent, and I was taken in by a traveling group of independent wrestlers.
I love it. I'm excited for this stuff.
Bro.
Get punched in the face on the daily. Do you always do these interviews with your shirt off?
What?
Man, this guy won't shut up.
All right, everybody. So I am pretty excited about this one. This is a guy that I've been talking to for a minute about getting on the show, and we had it worked out for a minute, and then something came up, and so I'm glad that we were able to reschedule this. You know, life happens, but I'm really glad to have Colt Killbane on with me. He's an Oklahoma-based wrestler. He debuted in 2017. He's worked with UWO, BPW, Core, Empire, WFC. He's also the Apex champion at UWE. Man, Colt, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Trying to rest up.
Yeah, from what you were telling me before we started recording, you're a pretty busy guy. You work a lot, so
Yeah. It's good while I'm young, I guess.
for sure. Yeah. Staying busy though does help keep you young, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're just going to kind of jump right into everything. I know that you, like I said, you debuted in 2017. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So how did you actually get into wrestling?
It's actually in high school, right at the beginning of my freshman year. I was playing football and actually jacked my shoulder up pretty bad and playing football. And after I rehabbed that for a little bit, it was going into my freshman season. I was like, if I'm going to get hurt, like I loved playing football and I at times regret quitting. But at the time, I was like, if I'm going to get banged up, let me do it doing something I've always wanted to do. Like, I never, as weird as it was playing football, I never dreamed about, hey, let me play for this team and maybe win a Super Bowl someday. But every night from the time I was 3 years old, I was like, I'm going to be WWE champion one day if I have my way. So I quit football and really rehabbed my shoulder up, and then I didn't know how to get into independent wrestling. I knew it was a thing, had never really watched it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to try to find somewhere to train. So I didn't even know what to type in. So I Googled WWE wrestling in Tulsa. and luckily I ended up finding this company at the time called Steel Rage Professional Wrestling.
Okay.
That ran in Sapulpa at the time. Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and started going to the shows. And then once I kind of got to talking to some people, I finally just asked them how I could train, and then started training on Sundays and Wednesdays, and went from there. Actually started training when I was 14, about a month before I turned 15. So been doing it for I guess you could say I've been around the business about 10 years now, give or take.
Right on.
I'm not sure if people consider, oh, you were just training, so you weren't in it, but been around it, I guess you could say.
Been around it. So, I mean, you do that's experience, in my opinion, being around it, even you learn, even if you're not getting slammed around in a ring, you're still learning, and those lessons, whether it be in the ring or outside of the ring, when it comes to psychology or anything like that, those are all very important when it comes to your experience. So, yeah, I mean, you could say 10 years in the business and, almost a grizzled vet.
Right. I have a joke going at UWE. There's been a few shows at UWE where it's some of the guys that have been around longer than me aren't on the show, and I'm look around, I'm like, hey, I'll make the joke. I'm like, guess I'm the grizzled vet tonight, because everyone else has been around like 2-3 years, and I've been doing it just 6, and I'll joke around and be like, hey, I'm the grizzled vet, clear a spot for me. It just as a joke. But I try to really, really be cool with the younger guys and just let them know, like, hey, there's used to be a stigma, oh, these vets are gonna, just be a-holes to you, but it doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
If you're helping the younger guys get better, then wrestling as a whole is going to get better.
Yes. Well,
and that's one reason. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's one reason I really like working for Knuckles. Is because that's a guy I can tell just by the way he talks to everybody that works his shows after a match. Is he doesn't, if somebody messes up, he doesn't, scream and shout and belittle him. He's like, hey, here's what you did wrong. Now let me show you how to fix it. And to me, that's how a real coach should be. And that is really, can't put a value on that type of, I guess you could say, coaching or critiquing.
Yep.
So
one thing I heard recently, and this has stuck with me, is leave it better than you found it. Yep. And when you can do that and you can leave a piece of knowledge and not harm the next generation or, in some way, then you're doing the right thing. Leaving it better than you found it. That's the only way that this is going to progress, is if we're able to do that. So, I like that.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that'll complain that there's kind of a stigma in Oklahoma, but I've seen it other places I've traveled. Oh, the wrestling in my state is terrible. And I'm like, well, the grass is only as green as you're willing to water it. We'll only get as green. So it's like there is certain cases where, some people just refuse to try to get better. But if someone else, what I've noticed is if a group of guys are motivated, it usually will motivate the people around them to, whether that be go to the gym or go to training or just try to get better themselves.
Right. Who would you say is one of your favorites when you were growing up?
Growing up, I was a John Cena kid.
John Cena kid.
Yeah. John Cena, Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's like I've become more of a fan of the guy. Like I'll always be a John Cena guy because I think he's done wonders for the business as a whole. But a lot of the guys he used to rival with, I'm like, you know why I hated that guy so much as a kid? Because he did his job so well as a heel.
Exactly.
Like I used to despise Edge, and now I look at Edge and I'm like, he just was doing his job. And Orton's probably my all-time favorite now. But as a kid, I was like, he really just pulled John Cena's dad over the rail and kicked him in the head. I was like, this guy's evil.
Yeah.
I was like 6 years old, and I'm like, I dare Randy Orton to try to do that to my dad.
And it's true. And I've heard stories about Edge, actually taking as an insult whenever people would cheer him whenever he was whenever he was a heel, and he took it so seriously. And they did such a good job because even, I'm a little bit older than you are. I'm 35. So, by the time they came around and, I was already kind of, I didn't know everything about the business, but I did know that, okay, some of the stuff has worked and everything like that. And they could still get me to hate them. Even though I knew that they were acting it out, I still hated them because they were so good at what they did. They just, same with another one for me is The Miz. I mean, he's become one of those. He's a very good heel. He can talk and he can make you hate him. And so, you know, he might not have a lot of the 5-star matches that some of the other ones might have had, but he knows how to use ring psychology to get you to hate him, and he's doing his job. But yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm the same way. A lot of the ones that I hated as a kid, you know, I kind of look up to them now because they had me going, you know, and they knew what they were doing. One of my favorites is Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, and as a kid, he kind of creeped me out, but I was so intrigued by him at the same time that I had his action figure, you know, and part of it was because my dad hated snakes, and I was like, "Ha, Dad, look, I got a snake," you know, kind of thing. But at the same time, I was very intrigued by him, and it was because he was able to use his voice, get very quiet, but when he needed to, he could raise his voice, and he drew you in with what he was saying, you know. So that's, you know, heels that are able to draw you in.
I remember seeing I didn't see the actual promo, but I think he was talking about it on, I think maybe when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he did.
Oh yeah.
Those backstage promos where they're in front of the, you know, the logo and stuff. And he said he started the promo and he wasn't saying anything at all, but he was moving his lips, and he did it in hopes people would get up and turn the volume up on their TV.
Yeah.
And then like 30 seconds in the promo, he's like, "Yeah, now that I got you up on your feet, you're going to pay attention to me." And he's saying how people will come up to him to this day at like Comic-Cons and stuff and be like, "You have no idea how mad that made my father, you making him get up and turn the volume up on the TV." And I'm like, that's a genius, way before his time on, you know, figuring out like little things like, if I act like I'm talking but I'm not, they're going to get up and turn their volume up on their TV.
Oh, that's so cool. I see. I haven't seen the full interview. There's so many episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast,
right?
And trying to scroll
like 2 hours long,
exactly, and trying to scroll through all of them. I think he has somewhere close to like 2,000 episodes.
Yeah,
and so trying to scroll through them to find that episode, you know, I've only seen little clips of it, but that's he's one of my favorites now, and Joe Rogan's another one for me. I kind of try to pattern what I do here after him. It's just a conversation, you know. I like that kind of conversation back and forth where it's not just like a set in stone, this is what we're going to say, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of his podcast. I usually takes me about a week just to get through one, but
I remember before it got really, really popular, it's back when he would have on like Joey Diaz like once a week and everything.
I love that guy.
Oh my gosh. I saw an interview with him recently talking about where it was Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan, and they were on what's the guy's name from InfoWars?
I have no clue.
It's a conspiracy theory podcast kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, well, a part of it's done on like the radio, and then the second hour is on the internet. Well, whenever Joey Diaz realized that they were off the radio and they were on just the internet and he could say whatever he want, dude went crazy.
Yeah.
Started talking about drugs and all kinds of other things, and he was just going nuts. But yeah, Joey Diaz, back in those days, whenever it was him and Redman and all them on the podcast, that's probably my favorite time.
Yeah, Joey Diaz, he's a character. He's like, "Oh, I ate an 800 milligram edible and got on a 8-hour flight." I'm like, how did you function?
I don't know how that man functions. He's a monster.
Yeah.
So do you prefer being a heel or do you prefer being a face?
Definitely a heel. Like I've done face a couple times. I think most promoters that I've worked for realize I'm a lot better heel. I mean, I'll do baby face because I try to do what the promoter wants, but I just, admittedly, I'm an awful baby face. I feel so robotic, and I'm like, you know, hey, cheer for me because I'm asking you to.
Right.
And then it's like, as a heel, I can go out there and be like, you know, hey, find something that they're wearing or find, you know, what they're doing.
Right.
Just nitpick stuff to make them want to boo me.
Well, and it's kind of in your name, Killbane. You know, that's not a very baby face name.
Right.
How did you actually come up with the name Colt Killbane?
So I actually got Killbane from. I played a lot of video games growing up, and I still do in my free time. But it's a game series called Saints Row. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but a lot more goofy. And once it got to the third one, a lot more cartoony.
Yeah.
But the main villain in Saints Row 3 was this luchador, and he had a whole gang of luchadors that I guess ran drugs and stuff. But there's a lot of wrestling in it too. And one of the luchadors in the game was actually voiced by Hulk Hogan.
Oh, cool.
But the main villain's name was Killbane. It was something. I forgot, like Eddie something. And then they called him as a nickname Killbane. And I was like, that'd make a really cool last name.
Yeah.
It always stuck with, even before I started training. I was like, that's cool. I think maybe I'll use that someday. Then I was like, I need a first name. And I have never, and this isn't like an insult to anybody named Colt or Colton, but at least in my life experience, every person I've met that's named Colton or Colt is a little bit like egotistical or been a jerk to me at least. And I'm like, from my experience, I'm going to go by Colt Killbane because I think that sounds like the name of a guy that might be a little bit of a douche. And it's worked for me, but sometimes I'll just go by Killbane because I know like seems pretty popular for wrestlers to have one name now, or it was for a while, but now they're getting back to two names. I don't know, wrestling's evolving all the time, so
yeah,
anything works, I guess, at this point.
Well, it was funny. Who was it? I believe it was it was in WWE, and they actually made a joke about it because it was only a few weeks that it happened. And it was
Riddle,
Austin
maybe. Theory, yeah.
It was Austin Theory. They just he was Theory, and it's like, oh, you got your first name back, So, how did you get the cunning part on there? Because I know you go by Cunning Killbane.
That was with my first gimmick. When I did more of a jock, frat boy style gimmick.
Gotcha.
And I started a tag team called Delta Delta Theta, and the guy I tagged with, Lance Osborne, went by Handsome Lance Osborne. And I was like, I need something like that. And I forgot who originally suggested it to me, but they were like, how about Cunning Colt Killbane? And I was like, works for me. Might as well try it out. And used it till we were finished. We finished up teaming. He doesn't work anymore. I think he actually, I haven't talked to him in a while, but I think he may be coaching a basketball team or something now.
Oh, right on.
So seems to be doing good for himself.
Yeah. Well, you say that. So look, this kind of explains what I saw. I was on a cage match, and the picture that they have on you, you've got a Letterman jacket on. There's no beard. And I'm like, that's not the guy that I know.
Right. Yeah. That was like a picture. I was like maybe 17 or 18 in that picture.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you've got the nice full beard going on now and everything.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. I figured it was time to change it. I still looked older than I was without facial hair, but I was like, I still look too nice looking, I guess.
Yeah, all those different things, to just make the character more in depth, whatever you got to do. Who would you say is probably one of your biggest inspirations when it comes to your character?
I feel like I'm a combination of a lot of characters, I guess. Really, I'm just, a lot of people say this, but myself turned up times 10, but that's really kind of me. But I guess as far as if I had to nitpick a few, I really Killer Cross or Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
Not that I do, anything necessarily like him, but that's a guy I watched him from the time he started in FCW up to when he went to Impact and NXT, and now that he's in WWE. Just a guy I've always liked and was like, I'd love to be able to, if I could learn how to edit videos, like his promos he did on YouTube before he got signed were some of the best stuff I ever saw. And
that was cool.
I would like to, I'd like to think I worked like Randy Orton, but I don't think anybody will ever be at that. He is just so good. But
one thing with Randy is It's more so they call him the apex predator. They call him the Viper, and they say it's because he can strike out of nowhere. But another way that I like to think of that is the reason why they call him the Viper is because he's so smooth.
Yeah,
it's one fluid motion, just like a snake when they're moving. It's very smooth, and he makes it look easy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes I'll watch his matches. I'll be, is he even sweating yet? We're 15 minutes into this match. He's so good. It's like he can make anybody look good too. It's his selling is some of the best. Like, he's one of the few people I know that he'll suplex somebody, and if he's going to go for a pin, he'll grab the back of his head, even though he suplexed the guy, or grab his upper back if the guy's been just the little stuff he does. And if you really look at his matches, he doesn't do a whole lot of big moves, but the stuff he does has a lot of meaning to it, and it helps, especially when he's working heel. If some people, I just see a lot of people on the internet, all Orton does is punch and stomp and throw a headlock on for 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but look at it this way: when the babyface starts firing up on him and hitting these big moves on him, it makes the babyface's moves look so much more important, at least in my eyes.
Right.
It looks like the babyface's moves mean a lot more. And, as a heel, in my opinion, you can get over in different ways other than your moves as a heel, even as a babyface. But I feel like, the big flashy moves, let the babyfaces do that because.
Right. You don't want to outshine the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, they're supposed to be the hero of the match. So why would you, as the villain of the match, want to do all these flashy moves that people would want to cheer for, in a sense?
Right. They're doing babyface moves, and
right.
I totally get that. There was actually an interview that I heard with Orton. I can't find this podcast anymore, but it was one that they used to do. It was the Sun, their paper that they have over there, and they had it's called like WrestleCast or something like that. And they used to have I used to listen to them all the time, and they had them with Randy Orton. They had one with they had Bobby Lashley, Cena, you name it. They had one with Kurt Angle right after he left WWE and went to TNA. It was good stuff. They even had one with Chris Benoit on there too.
Oh, wow.
They had, so I mean, there was some really good ones. I love listening to them. They were really interesting. But one of the ones was Randy Orton on there. He was on there a couple times. And, he was talking about how when he does that headlock and people, he does it to mess with the crowd too, to get them to cheer for that face, because, oh my God, this headlock, it's so boring,
right.
Come on, cheer for the face, get it going. He's good at looking like he's getting his butt kicked, He has that down pat, but he also knows how to get the crowd, not even realizing that the crowd doesn't know they're going to start cheering for the face, but they are because of the things that he's doing in the ring.
Exactly.
So I wish I could find those interviews because they were some of my favorite ones, and to be honest, they were the ones that kind of smartened me up to what was going on, behind the scenes and stuff, and so it was really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite opponent?
I have a few. Really, any match I work with Luke Langley, it's gonna be the dude's. So I have no idea how that dude's not making hundreds of thousands of dollars wrestling on TV every week. He's really got it all in my eyes. I mean, he's in great shape. He's got a good gimmick. He can wrestle. He's one of those guys, you put him in there with anybody, he's going to make that person better.
Yeah.
So Luke's definitely up there. My buddy KJ Everly. I don't know if you know KJ Everly.
I don't know him.
But I've wrestled him probably 80 times, and it's he's my best friend, so it's always going to be a fun match when you're doing that. And Coco, I've wrestled him a couple times.
Coco's good.
We've had some really good matches, and then my match with CW Anderson, that was a great experience. That was, I guess, my first name, I guess you could say, I wrestled. Okay. At least a full match. I wrestled Jeff Cobb in like a little squash match back when I was like 18. Just took the tour of the island from it, which that was cool. But CW Anderson, it was like, hey, I actually get to have a match with a name.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one match that I definitely feel like I left a better worker from it.
Right.
And he was so cool talking to him, because it was like, he could have been like, hey, this is what I do this, but he was kind of a student of the game himself. The vibe I got from him, because anytime he gave me advice, he'd be like, hey, this is what DDP told me, or hey, this is what Arn Anderson showed me. It's like, he was there learning himself and just passing on what other people taught him.
That's really cool. It's easy to learn from people who ask the questions themselves, and they know what the questions need to be. It makes, whenever they're talking to you, it makes it so much easier, because they've already broken it down in their head, and so they can easily break it down for you. And the thing is I've heard this many times before. Training is a really good way to get good at what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, but you gotta train. I mean, there's a lot of people that they never train, but they want to try all these crazy moves. And I forgot, my original trainer told me, he's like, if you want to do a move that can, potentially seriously hurt somebody, you should have practiced it at least 100 times before you ever try to do it at a show.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a liability. I'd feel terrible, lifting someone up and dropping them on their neck, and then they're not able to go their shoot job and provide for their family. So it's one thing I kind of, not to toot my own horn, but I pride myself on being a pretty strong guy. That way I know if I tell someone I'm going to pick them up and land them on the mat, they don't have to worry about it.
Right. They know they're not going to get dumped. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you were talking about C.W. Anderson. Me and you were talking before the show, and there's something that me and you both have in common. And you're a Rottweiler guy.
Oh, yeah.
I have my first Rottweiler now, and I guess now that I have one, it's like, I love this. They're great dogs,
They're great, yeah.
And
they get a rep of being kind of these dumb dogs, but I'm like, they're really just
right.
They love their family that they're with, and they're goofy, yeah.
They're loyal, yes. They're very loyal. Mine, she's a big baby, and I know before we had her, I was kind of intimidated by Rottweilers, I guess you could say. And we got this one. She's not full blood Rottweiler. She's actually a Rottweiler and German Shepherd. Yeah. So, two breeds that everybody's like, oh, they're vicious breeds,
Right.
She's the biggest baby ever.
Yeah, that's how mine is. He's very protective. Like if there's a bump at the door or something that he doesn't know it's for sure one of us, he's definitely like alerting them, like, hey, if you're not supposed to be here,
right,
leave. But once he sees that they're not a threat, he's all over him, wants him to scratch his little nubby tail. And
the one thing I do like with mine is if there's somebody at the door, she goes and sits beside my wife and the kids.
Oh yeah,
she knows that's where she's needed at. If I'm not home, she's at the door. But if I'm here and I'm going to the door, she's sitting over there, making sure she's there to protect them.
Yep, that's how mine is. He lays either by the front door or the front window on top of the air vent, soaking up all the air.
Yeah,
they're just goofy, man, and they're just. I got mine ended up getting him for free. I've always wanted one, but never really had the money to be like, hey, let me spend $2,000 on a puppy. I got other stuff that $2,000 can go for, but I'm in a little neighborhood watch on Facebook for my neighborhood, and this lady's friend had found one. I guess there was some bad rainstorms about 4 or 5 years ago in Tulsa, and he had gotten loose. He wasn't even a year old yet, but her friend found him and was like, if nobody comes and gets this dog, I'm going to have him put down. And I went on. I didn't even, at the time, I didn't even ask my father. I just texted the lady and was like, the hell if you are, I'm coming to get him. And went and got him. And we show up and she's like, oh, he doesn't really like men, so be careful. And we go lean on the fence and he hops up and looks at me and my dad and just gave us this look like, please get me the hell out of here. And it was sad because he was about a year old at the time.
Yeah.
And you could see his ribs. But when we went
no.
and weighed him, when we first got him, his ribs were showing, and he was still 109 pounds. So he's just massive.
That's a big dog.
Thinks he's a lap dog too.
Yeah, that's mine tries to sit on my chest.
Mhm.
I can't breathe.
Right.
Yeah. That, and is yours gassy, like really gassy? I guess that's a trait of Rottweilers, I guess.
He kind of farts, but it doesn't. I have to be very careful with what I feed him.
Right.
Because I assume he was fed a lot of table scraps before I got him.
Yeah.
And he has a really sensitive. Actually, one time I gave him some chicken that just had some simple black pepper and salt seasoning.
Yeah.
And it inflamed his colon so bad that it cost us $1,000 trip to the vet because his colon got inflamed. So we're very much just like, dog biscuits that are made out of like chicken liver and dog food and
gotcha.
Peanut butter. He likes banana. He really likes bananas.
My dogs get a banana every morning. So it's good for their coat. It makes it really shiny, and they love it. They'll sit there and wait, and if you don't give it to them, they'll sit there beside them and look at them and then look back at me. So
yeah, that's what mine will do. He'll sit there and he'll look over, like peanut butter or banana. You'll look over and there's just drool on the floor because he's ready for it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love my dogs, and I can sit here and talk forever about them. They're
right.
They're my babies. I have two kids, but my wife and I don't have any kids together. So this is our children, is our two dogs. So they're crazy. The other one is a pit bull mix. She's an English pointer, border collie pit bull, and the more I look into it, the more I realize how much of a pity she really is in the way that she acts. So yeah. I don't know what it is, but I end up having this big heart for the dogs that have the worst reputation.
Right, me too.
So kind of going back into everything here, we kind of got a little bit off track there.
Right.
But do you have a favorite feud that you've been in?
Really only had a few, I would say, legit feuds. Me and Duke Cornell had a little feud up in Kansas for American Wrestling Revolution for a while.
Yeah.
We only actually had 2 matches, but we did have I was in a faction called the 1%, and he was kind of in a feud with all of us before he actually joined us.
Gotcha.
And it started with us having a qualifying match for the television title. And then COVID happened. And
that ruined everything.
Shut us down for about a year. And the promoter, Derek Ellis, was like, you know what? Y'all's match was so good, I think I'm just going to have y'all wrestle again for the television title.
Wow.
And both matches were 2 of my... I guess you could put Duke Cornell up there on favorite opponents as well, because he is so good and he's got a great character and gimmick, and dude's just really awesome, I think.
He really is. So my very first wrestling show that I went to, the main event was Duke Cornell versus Luke Langley.
I bet that was fire.
It was such a great match, and I didn't know anything about the local independent scene at all, and then I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to know more now. I told Luke after the match was over, I said, that's better than 90% of what's on TV right now.
Right.
So I actually have Duke coming back here in a few months. He's been on the show before, and I'm gonna
I think I listened to that show.
Yeah, so I haven't said this yet, but his episode is my highest downloaded episode out of all of them. Yeah. So he's like, oh, I have a number that I have to beat now when I come back on the show.
Right.
But
got him in challenge mode.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but he's a good guy. He's a lot of fun to watch in the ring, and he has a lot of good stories whenever I'm just talking to him.
Oh yeah. What I like about him is he's something different. He's not
right.
I challenge somebody to find some other independent wrestler and be like, oh, this guy's a lot like Duke Cornell, because you won't. He's
Right.
really one of a kind, I think.
Yep. Well, and my daughter likes him because it's the first wrestler she ever yelled at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
That's great. Good memory.
Oh, definitely. That was her first. So I've taken my kids both to different shows. And so he was the main event of the first show that I went with my son to.
Yeah.
Well, then he was at my daughter's first show, which was like a month or so later. He was there, and that's the first one she ever yelled at. So they have memories with him. My son remembers him laying on the floor at the end of the match, you know, all the stuff like that. So yeah, Duke Cornell, everybody in my house knows who that is.
Yeah. Didn't he like untie your son's shoe or something while he was laying on the floor? Didn't I hear that on his episode?
He said he likes to do that, but we were in the second row, so he couldn't get to our shoes. But there were kids up there, and he was, you know, messing with their shoes.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, making the kids cry, you know, yelling at them, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you like to yell at the kids?
Oh yeah, they're especially like if I see them there with like one parent, I'll be like, don't yell at me because your parents aren't together. That's one of my favorite things to yell. And they'll be like, you don't know that. They're fun to yell at.
Oh yeah, they're very interactive at the shows. I've seen a few shows where they don't have like a barricade around the ring, and I've seen these kids get right up next to the ring. You know, I'm like, dude, go wrangle your kids a little bit because they will get
hit on accident.
Yeah, they will get right in the middle of that match because they take it so serious.
Yeah, one of my first matches before I was even able to get licensed in Oklahoma, I went and wrestled up in, I think it was Sedan, Kansas. I think at their little fair.
Okay.
And there was a kid sitting there with his mom, and I was yelling something at him. And he had a snow cone. All of a sudden, he reaches his hand down in the cup of the snow cone and just chunks it at me. And it hits me, and I left a big purple stain on my singlet. And I was like, well, I guess I did my job as a heel that night.
Yeah. Well, and you had the stain to remember it by, too.
Right.
So earlier you were saying something about video games. What kind of video games do you like to play?
I'm really kind of stuck on the ones I played as a kid, but some newer ones I like. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, it's been out for 10 years, but I've been playing it since the start. Red Dead Redemption.
It's a good one.
So I never really got into Call of Duty or anything. I mean, I played the first two Black Ops, but other than that, I never really got into them. There is a newer kind of Warzone game called Insurgency Sandstorm.
Okay, yeah.
And I've actually gotten really into that. And then, of course, like the old WWE games, like the SmackDown versus Raws and stuff like that.
Those were great.
Yeah, I love those. And really just trying to get into... There was a time where I kind of only played, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, but I'm trying to expand my horizon again. And Skyrim's one I've always played.
Love Skyrim.
And then now that I have a Series S now and got Game Pass, and they have all the Oblivion and Morrowood.
Yeah.
Never played those, so I'm going to start those soon. And haven't decided if I wanted to start Skyrim over again because I am so far along on it on my PlayStation 4.
It takes so long to play that game.
Right. I don't know if I can spam making iron daggers to get my smithing skill up again.
Did you ever get into Fallout?
Yes, the only one I ever played in its entirety was Fallout 4.
Okay.
But thinking about getting like New Vegas and I played Fallout 3 a little bit, but I was so young I didn't really understand it.
Right.
So they're on Game Pass as well, so I'll probably end up playing those at least once. And I think 76 is the one that's online.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted to play that, but I heard a lot of not so great things about it.
Yeah, it's not that good. My favorite is New Vegas. So yeah, you definitely got to play that one if you like those kind of games. That one's my favorite out of all of them. So It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's funny because it's I love playing older games. You were saying how you're kind of stuck on the games from your past, and all of my game consoles in my garage they're not new. I have a 360, a PS3, and a GameCube out here in my garage.
Yeah, I always wanted a GameCube. I never got one though.
They're a lot of fun, and the reason why I got it is because my son was showing interest in video games, and that was what was recommended to be a good starter game console was GameCube, and so much fun. Yeah, you'll definitely have to get one of those. We also have a 64 and a Wii U and a Series S in the house.
Nice. Yeah, the Series S is fun.
It is.
I was stuck on PlayStation because I had a 360 when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I had the original Xbox, then the 360, and then when the PS4 Xbox One came out, for some reason decided to switch to PS4.
Yeah,
and was gonna get a PS5, but I was like, man, I can't find one. And then when I find someone reselling them, they want like $1,000 for it.
Yeah,
and ended up finding a Series S at Walmart on sale for like, I think it was like $250, and I was like, I probably won't find one cheaper than that. Might as well get it.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty glad I've switched back to Xbox because it brings back memories of when I was a kid.
Yeah, I like playing a lot of those. My last guest was Phil Parsons. He's a voice actor. He was Nappa in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, nice.
I just dropped, actually, as we're talking, that episode dropped this morning. And we talked about God of War. And I need to go back and replay that now that I've talked to him, because that's all I can think about now is that original first God of War game.
See, I never got into those, but they always looked real interesting.
They're good. But I know you like the 360 or the Xbox, and but maybe one day they'll port it over.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be
that
cool.
way I don't have to be like, oh, let me get a PS2 so I can play the first few God of Wars.
Hey, I did get a PSP just so I could play Chains of Olympus.
Oh, not. Yeah, I had a PSP as well for a while.
Did you?
I wish I would have kept it. I ended up when I was like, I think I was like 8 or 9, and it's like right when the BOK Center got built in Tulsa, and wasn't really playing it much, and I was like, I'm gonna sell this PSP and buy tickets to WWE. I did with it. Bought WWE tickets and then bought some WWE figures.
There you go.
I was a pretty simple kid growing up. I was like, I just, never really asked for, I want, the dirt bikes and stuff. I'm like, give me a couple $10 wrestling figures and I'm good for a few weeks.
There you go. Man, I had one of the old rings, like the blue one with the gold WWF logo in the middle.
Yeah, I think I got one of those. If it's like for the LJN, like the rubber figures.
Yes.
Yeah, I got one of those I go to the flea market here in Tulsa, and this guy was selling the ring and about 30 or 40 of the rubber figures, and he wanted like $60 for it, but I had some of the figures already, and I was like, would you be willing to break this up if I buy a bunch of them? And he's like, I really just want to sell it all, so if you really want it, I'll give it to you for $40. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Can't pass up that deal.
Yeah.
I found a couple the other day. I kind of every once in a while we've got this big flea market here, and I'll go toy hunting.
Right.
And I found the Junkyard Dog one, and I found a few other ones, but the Junkyard Dog one was the one that I actually ended up getting because
that one's. I don't think I have that one.
That one's really cool. I got some Power Rangers stuff too because I'm a big Power Rangers nerd.
Yeah, I never really got into Power Rangers myself. It always looked cool, but I just never took the time to get into it.
Yeah, I was part of the OG crew. I was there whenever the first episode dropped in '93.
Oh, nice.
So I was watching. I remember I was at my grandma's house and just flipped through the channels, and all of a sudden these people in these bright costumes with helmets were on my TV, and it was just like the coolest thing ever. and I've been addicted ever since. Like I said, 35, and I have right behind me a bunch of Power Rangers Funkos and toys and wrestling toys
Right.
and everything else. So
yeah. I got a couple bookshelves to my left full of Funkos and figures I've found and been gifted, and it's like I'm running out of space.
yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to buy another shelf here soon, I think, because I don't have any more room. If for my birthday, my wife got me some more Funkos, and she got me like a Chris Jericho AEW figure, and it has like,
oh, nice.
Oh yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. She even got me the Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, so I've got all this kinds of cool stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm running out of room, but I know I'm not done collecting stuff, so I've just got to find more places to put it.
Yeah, so I am been wanting to get into the Jurassic Park Funkos because that's like my favorite movie of all time.
Okay,
and I'm like I have no space for it, but my girlfriend ended up getting me. Have you ever seen those things? They're like ads on Instagram for they're like cast iron dinosaur skulls.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that.
She ended up getting me the T-Rex one, and then she got me the Funko of the hatching raptor. And I was like, well, she started a new section in the room for some Funkos.
Oh, that's great. So you do the Funkos. What do you do for hobbies?
Work out. Work out. Probably my main one, but I wouldn't even say that's a hobby now. It's kind of, I'd hopefully will wrestle for a living one day, so I kind of consider it part of I guess you could say, the job.
Right.
But video games, I collect figures, and I'm too old to be playing with them, but so they just sit on a shelf in the box. But was into frisbee golf for a little, haven't gone in a while, but and then cigars and whiskey, I guess, if that can be considered a hobby.
Definitely, yeah. I know a little bit about it. I know you told me that you do some stuff with cigars and everything.
Yeah.
So, do you have a certain kind that you like, or?
Really, there's so many I like. I really like the Punch label.
Okay.
Cigars, and then there's Liga Privada. They're kind of a higher end one, but since working at the cigar shop, I've discovered this label called the Tabernacle. And it's one of the guys that used to work for the Liga Privada brand, and he had his own blends he wanted to release, but I guess they wouldn't let him.
Huh.
So he, I guess, left them and started his own label, and they're fantastic, and they're pretty significantly cheaper than the Liga Privada ones. Because some of those cigars, like even with, I get a really nice discount through my work on them. My discount after I pay cost plus 18%, which equals out about like a 47% discount.
That's cool.
And even some of those, I'm like, with my discount, this is still a $14 cigar. Like,
jeez,
that's literally burning money.
Yeah, definitely, man. When I go to those places, I'm like, okay, what will pair good with this scotch that's not going to break the bank?
Yeah.
And they're usually, oh, well, you can try this one. I was like, okay, but here lately, I haven't been doing the scotch, and I've been liking the bourbons more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never done scotch myself. I've always been bourbon and beer. I'm a big beer guy.
Okay,
but it's one bourbon I like. Oil Fire. I don't know if you've ever had it.
I haven't had that one. No,
it's I'll have to try to. You ever come to a show that I'm on, try to get a bottle of it to you. But it doesn't even taste like you're drinking alcohol. It's just kind of dangerous. It is like just the most pleasant, just great, like best sipping whiskey I've ever had.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just good stuff.
Right on. Here lately, I've been going back and forth between two of them, and it's Four Roses and Elijah Craig. So I know they're not that expensive, but they're good for what you're wanting. But my first bourbon was just Evan Williams, man.
Yeah. I think I don't even remember what my first one was. It's, I guess whatever I could get my hands on.
Right.
Stupid 16-year-old kid in high school. It's probably something awful like Kentucky Deluxe or something.
Oh, yeah.
Something that'll make my stomach hurt for 3 weeks now.
Do you like Bullet at all?
Yes. That stuff is, that's really good stuff.
It went down way too fast for me. Like, I was like, oh, where'd that bottle go?
Right. So I'm a big mead guy too.
Mead,
honey
okay.
wine. Yeah, that stuff's just, it's like drinking candy, pretty much.
Well, you know, if you don't know where to find it at, it's because they don't sell it everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you don't know where to find it, then you're kind of out of luck. But yeah, mead, that's good stuff. I've had a few bottles of that, and do you have a specific brand that you like?
I'd have to go look in the cabinet. I kind of just buy the real generic one. It's not a real expensive one. I forgot what it's called. I should probably know the name of what I'm drinking, but it's just in a yellow bottle. That's all I can describe it as, because usually I drink it before I even pay attention to what the bottle looks like. But there's a locally owned company from Sand Springs called I think it's called like Deadly Wishes Winery,
okay,
or something like that, and they make meads. And the cigar company I work for actually owns the liquor store next door, so I get discounts there. Not much of one because of all the liquor taxes and stuff, but I haven't bought one of their meads yet. But all the guys that work there are like, oh, they're really good stuff. They have like a raspberry one and a blackberry, so I'm like, it's time to try one that's more than just the regular honey flavor, I guess.
Yeah. So there is, I know you said you don't do scotch a lot, but so there is a brand of scotch that was made by a Viking that settled in Scotland. And it's Highland Park Magnus. I don't know if you've ever had that one or not.
I haven't had it. I've heard of it. I've heard of the Highland Park.
Well, Highland Park has one made by Magnus, and because if you know the history of the area and everything, the Vikings came and helped the Scottish whenever they were trying to get their independence, and some of them settled in Scotland after, you know, the wars and stuff. And one of them made his own scotch, and man, that one, it doesn't taste like a scotch really, but it's really good. You should definitely try that one if you are into different stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out for sure. Yeah, there's my work's got some weird ones. We have like, I think, a peanut butter scotch, and I'm like, wonder what that would be like.
Is that the Screwball one, or
I think no, because I think Screwball's a whiskey one, a peanut butter whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's like an actual scotch, and it's like, they say it tastes like peanut butter, so I'm like, might be worth a try.
All right. Yeah, maybe. So at the beginning of the episode, we were talking about how you played football. What position did you play?
So mainly right guard, and then kind of whatever else they were like, oh, let's try him here. Like, I played probably 1 or 2 downs as a fullback, and then a defensive end when I was on defense, and linebacker a little bit. I loved playing linebacker when I could, but they were like, my coaches were really weird. They were like, oh, you're tall, we need you on the line. And I'm like, I may be tall, but these 300-pound guys, I'm 180 pounds. Like, what do you expect me to do? So,
you know, just
looking back, I think if I could have done it over again, I would have tried to be like a tight end or something. That way, you know, I could satisfy them by blocking, but you know, maybe I could catch the ball every now and then.
Right. Yeah. So do you have any goals set for the next year when it comes to wrestling?
Yeah, just number one, travel more.
Okay.
I used to travel, be on the road almost every weekend, and since COVID kind of died down a lot, but definitely I got a crew of guys and that are all on the same page. Like, hey, you know, we really want to make a name for ourselves, let's start traveling, and just really going to start pitching to promotions like, hey, you got me, KJ, Leo Fox, and Kurt Gannon. Like, hey, you got 4 solid guys that you could do tag team match, 8-man tag, fatal 4-way, 2 singles matches. Like, we're all kind of agreed, like, we're all good friends. Let's start traveling together.
Yeah. I've had Kurt on the show, and I'd love to have Leo on the show, and Wrestlers of Mass Destruction, that they're quite a crew to be hanging with. But I would love to see, you be able to go to some of these other places. And I know that you've probably got different ones planned here in the near future too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're talking about the 4 of us going up through, like, trying to do a loop through St. Louis, then Chicago, and then Milwaukee one weekend. Just hit a big several 100-mile loop just to really start making the rounds.
That would be cool.
But just hopefully make a name for myself to where, obviously, the ultimate goal, I think, for anybody is WWE or AEW.
Right.
And, I think anybody that's like, oh, I'd never wrestle for WWE or I'd never wrestle for AEW. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if you saw the amount of money at the bottom of that paper that they offered you, you would change your mind real quick. But
yeah, well, it's kind of goofy to me. People are like, oh, I wouldn't go work for them. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to make it big. It's getting your name out there. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah. I'd love to, if the WWE never came knocking, NWA or Impact or just something, it doesn't have to be, I'm stuck on, oh, I'm going to wrestle for WWE one day. But just if I was to a point where, like, I'm 100% making a living off pro wrestling and nothing else, I'd be satisfied.
Well, isn't NWA doing like a tryout in Oklahoma, like maybe in November or something like that? Because I know EC3 is coming to do like what's it called where they
like
come and talk?
Seminar.
He's coming to do a seminar, and one of them, I think they said, is actually going to be a tryout.
With the This Is Wrestling.
I
might have to get on that now that I think about it. I forgot that was going on. But I've actually done a seminar with EC3 down in Texas when he was starting up the CYN stuff before it got shut down.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And it was a really great seminar, and he had some good things to say about me and KJ, and very like would give you your praises, but be like, hey, here's what I think could have done better. Yeah. And here, let me get in here and show you how to fix it. Like, so it was great.
I mean, that's what you need. Somebody that will show you this is where you're strong. This is where you need improvement. I mean,
exactly.
People who are just going to, blow smoke at you, then, they're not really helping you. So that's a good thing.
Like, I get people are trying to be nice, but the biggest thing I cannot stand is when I have someone to watch my match and they're like, oh, it was a good match. I'm like, okay, but what about it was bad? What about it could have been better?
Right.
And that's one reason I like, like I said earlier before we started recording, I like working for Warsaw so much, is because he absolutely, you can tell just by the way he talks to people and how he runs his shows, he wants to leave wrestling better than when he started, and he wants to help that next guy in line get to be the type of worker he is. And every match, I'll go up to him after and he'll be like, okay, here's what you did great. Here's what didn't make sense. Here's what I didn't like. Here's how I would have done it. Here's how you should do it next time. Yeah. And that's worth more than any payday in wrestling you could ever get on this stage, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, one thing with him is, you know where you stand with him. Exactly. He will be very straight and honest with you, and he doesn't do it out of spite. It's very much, hey, I like this, I don't like this, and I've noticed that, I've talked to him multiple times and everything. He's right down the road from me. So, but I like that about him. You don't question where you stand with him.
Yep. No cookie cutter stuff with him. It's
exactly,
here's how you fix it, and, take my advice or keep messing up, but he's not. He won't say that,
Right.
He's like, I've given you my thoughts. Take the ball and run with it, or the other team's going to pick it up and score with it.
Yep. So, do you have a dream match, whether it be with somebody who is alive or dead, even?
I got a couple. The main one is Karrion Kross, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just because there was a time about when I was 18, I went through not to get into too much detail, but I got into a really, really bad relationship and was kind of down on myself after. And I actually had his tweet notification. That's how big of a fan of his I was. I had his tweet notifications on. And one night I was just not in a good mood. And he tweeted something out that was like, I forgot exactly. I have it on my old phone, but it was along the lines of like, be humble, but never let anybody else tell you what you're capable of. And it was he pretty much ended it like, get off your couch and go earn it type thing. And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? He's absolutely right. I could sit here and mope about what happened to me, or I could go out and make what's going to happen to me better.
Right.
And he really motivated me. So him definitely, hopefully I can make that happen one day.
Never say never.
Exactly. And then I'd love to work C.W. Anderson again.
Yeah.
And then a couple guys I've gotten to hang out with, like Damon Priest and Austin Aries.
Yeah.
Okay. Or not Austin Aries, Austin Theory.
Oh, cool. Okay.
They're just super cool guys that I've gotten to pick the brain of and hang out with. And
yeah,
Priest is just such a cool guy. Like, not to ruin his rep of being a heel, but he's just super, like, didn't make the, some guys have a rep of like when they hang out with people who aren't, on TV or making the situation about themselves. But he's like, what do you want to do with your wrestling career? Or, where do you want to accomplish and where do you want to go? And here's my advice that might help you get there.
Yeah.
Just super humble dude. Cause, he's been, back like, I think it was 10 or 15 years ago, he had his initial tryout with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And they originally told him no. And he got, from what I was reading, kind of in a slump and gained a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
And his trainer at the time was like, look, if you give up now, you'll never make it. And then he got in the best shape of his life. And now he's one of the most over dudes on WWE television.
He seems like a cool guy to hang out with because I've seen some of his backstage stuff when he's just goofing off. And he seems like he's a very chill dude to hang out with. Yeah. And that's a great comeback story, from going to from no to now he's Mr. Money in the Bank, or what is it?
Right.
Senior Money in the Bank,
Yeah, senior.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about, you never know what can happen. If you give up, you'll never know.
Exactly. Yeah. What would you say is one of your most memorable moments in wrestling?
Probably when I won one of them, definitely when I won the AWR title, because AWR is like, they haven't ran in a while. But my buddy Derek that runs it, I didn't know him going up there, but worked the show, and he was not to downplay any other promoter I've ever worked for, but Derek was the first guy that really was like, we want you to go out there and be who you want to be. We like what we got. Like, we're going to critique you and tell you if we don't like something. And he never BS me. Like, if I did something he didn't like, he was like, hey man, I don't like that. I think you should do this instead.
Yeah.
But the first guy to really give me kind of free reign of go out there and show them who you want the Murder Man Colt Killbane to be. And kind of not really made me, I don't want to say, the franchise guy, but really was like, we're going to make you one of the mainstay guys here. And you can either take the ball and fumble it, or you can try to make something out of it. So that meant a lot. And, it's kind of like, I help, not necessarily from a backstage standpoint, help build the brand, but from an in-ring standpoint, me and my friends that were there from the beginning, really put in a lot of time and effort to make those shows really good, and they were awesome. And I think the audience every time we had a show really showed how much our work paid off. Because I don't think there was a single show in the little town we ran out of that there were less than 500 people in the crowd. Like they were great shows, man.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time I didn't even have merch. I just had 8x10s for merch, and I'd do like $100 in merchandise just off 8x10s.
Oh wow!
So like, I wish I would have had my T-shirts and stuff back then.
So, do you come up with your own designs for your T-shirts, or do you have somebody that helps you with all that?
I've kind of had some people that'll just make some for me. They'll be like, "Hey, I got bored and make this," and I'll be like, "That's really cool. Do you mind if I use it for a T-shirt?" And then I paid for a couple, but I got so many throughout the years of not having, a Cricut machine to make my own merch that I've got, probably 15 designs that I can sit on for a while and make merch with. And I make all my own merch now. So that
right on
cuts out my girlfriend got me a Cricut machine for my last birthday. So
which one do you have?
I think it's the Explorer 2.
Okay, the Explorer Air 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they're great. Just keeps me to where I can put a fair price on my merch that I think,
right.
I'm not out here trying to get $35 for a T-shirt as an indie wrestler.
Well, I mean,
if people can put that on their merch table and get $35 for them, more power to them. Yeah. But I feel, I try to, most fans of indie wrestling are spending their last few bucks. I try to keep my stuff fair, and me being able to cut out the middleman has helped a lot.
Right. Well, the Cricut is a gateway. I will say that.
Yep.
Because my wife started out with a Cricut Explorer Air 2,
mm-hmm.
and now she has a sublimation printer. She has a press. She has a mug press. She makes all of my merch.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm working with Diamond State Wrestling, and she's starting to do a lot of the merch from, like, I'm doing like their backstage shows and stuff like the Rare Cut. She made all the stuff for that, all of my polos that I wear for that, and for different wrestlers. The Vatos Kind of Loco, she actually made their merch, the new one that came out, the hot pink shirt. So the Cricut is just a gateway to so much more, because now she even does stickers.
Nice.
So
Sam Stackhouse has done stickers, and I'm pretty sure he makes a lot of his living off people ordering stickers from him. So it's definitely money to be made with them.
There definitely is. And I mean, we go to like markets and stuff like that and sell these. Like we went, Exeter, Missouri has a big corn maze, and they do like a fall festival and all kinds of different stuff there, and a craft fair. And we set up there, and dude, we did really good. And pretty much all we sold was stickers. Those things go a long way.
Yep. Yeah. Stickers I never was a big fan of stickers, but a lot of people love them. Like they put them on their water bottle and their laptop and stuff, and they're money makers.
They definitely are. I haven't done on my laptop just because laptops are expensive.
Right.
But I do have a bunch, and mostly it's just so I can be like, people are like, "Oh, where'd you get that sticker?" My wife made it. I've got like Pokemon stickers, and I've got Power Rangers, and I've got Supernatural. I love the show Supernatural, so I've got all kinds of stuff like that on there. The anti-possession symbol and the middle letter symbol on mine.
Yeah,
and so people are like, "Those are cool." I'm like, "Yeah, my wife can do that." It's a great way to advertise.
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple of my stickers on my big gallon jug I take to the gym.
Yeah,
and I'll catch people looking at it, and they'll be like, because I have this design that's like my name, but it's the old ECW font that used to say ECF and W. But it says Colt Killbane, and they'll be like, "Who's Colt Killbane?" And I'm like,
"That's me."
I'll pull up my Instagram and be like, "Oh, let me show you." And they'll look, and they'll be like, "That's really you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." And here's where you can come watch me wrestle.
That's cool. We're our best advertisers, when it comes to having our own, wearing our own merch, even,
Exactly.
I wear my podcast shirt anytime I get a chance. And you know who knows the name of my podcast? JBL, because they saw me wearing it at Comic-Con last year. He looked at me and said, "What does that even mean?" And so I got to explain to him what my show was about. So I don't know if he ever listened to it, but he's heard the name of my podcast before.
Yeah, that happened to me with Kevin Nash one time at the first Oaklamania that World Class put on.
I
had a little hat that said Killbane, and he's like, "What's your hat say?" And I was like, "Oh, that's me, Killbane." And he was like, "Cool name." I doubt he ever, Kevin Nash, he probably doesn't care, but he was like, "Cool name." And then he was like, "Too sweet me," and we took a picture. So that was cool. Got to too sweet it with Kevin Nash.
Yeah. It's little moments like that are really cool.
Yep.
But if we didn't have merch, some of them wouldn't even happen.
Exactly. I remember before I really got to figure out that cricket, it used to frustrate me because I'd be like, I wouldn't mirror the image and turn the print on or the iron on vinyl backwards. I'd be like, why are these shirts look like crap? Or I did one that the first one I ever did that was multicolor. I didn't put parchment paper over the first layer.
Oh no.
So it like melted back onto the see-through stuff, and I was so mad. I was like, what am I doing wrong? But yeah, I got the whole set. I got a one of those presses with like your wife's got, I guess, like with the mug press and the hat press and t-shirt press. And then I got I really wanted to do designs where I wouldn't have to, cut the image for each different color. So I was like, I'm gonna get an inkjet printer so I can get that print on vinyl.
Right.
And
how do you like using that?
I haven't actually tried. I've tried it on some hats, and it worked really well. A lot better than the regular cutout vinyl on the hats.
Yeah.
Made the hats a lot easier. I haven't tried it on a t-shirt yet, so definitely gonna try it on a t-shirt soon and wash it a few times and make sure it lasts. Cause last thing I want to do is sell someone a t-shirt and they're like, "Oh, I washed it 3 times and it faded away."
Yeah. Well, we kind of went with a different route, and so we still do sublimation, which that's pretty much just it's a gas on the shirt, and so it stains that fabric. But if you're not using 100% polyester, the image is going to fade out. So so what we started doing is we do direct to film, and so it's pretty much a screen print that you just it's on a film and you put it on the shirt, press it on there, iron it on. A lot easier. Machines are super expensive, so we have a person really close by that makes all of those for us. But I've got some really cool t-shirts out of it. My wife just made me a Biker Mice from Mars t-shirt the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can do some really cool stuff with it, but we're trying different techniques and different things, but YouTube is our best friend when it comes to all of this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. I found a lot of different stuff. Like the dollar store is great if you have merch too, because like you can get like little things of shot glasses, and you sell one of those shot glasses and you made your money for the whole set of shot glasses and your materials you use.
Right.
And like, too bad it's $1.25 now, or you'd be making even more money.
They can't call it Dollar Tree anymore.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still bitter on that one. Sorry.
Me too. Now they have little sections that are like
$5
beyond. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, get this footstool that can't hold more than 12 pounds for $5.
The collapsible one.
Right. But it has a stereo in it.
So do you have anything coming up that maybe you want to talk about before I get you off of here?
Yeah, I got the Ozark Mountain, the return of Ozark Mountain Wrestling, and my official return to Arkansas to wrestle. So that'll be good. And then can't say much about it, but make sure you guys are watching SmackDown and Raw Friday and next Monday.
All right.
So you never know who might get a spot on there.
I'll definitely be watching out, man.
Heck yeah.
If people want to follow you online, how can they do that?
Pretty much any social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X or whatever Elon Musk is calling it now.
Yeah.
I think it's at Killbane _ on Twitter, and then Murderman Killbane on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. And do you have any final thoughts for me before I get you off of here?
Not really. Not that I can think of. Just, if you want to be a pro wrestler, please, you don't have to be a body guy.
Yeah.
You know, the days of everyone looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger are long gone, but at least have some strength to you to where you don't drop the guy you're working on the neck.
Right.
Please.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, it has been great talking to you.
Yeah,
and
I
have
my first podcast,
first one. I'm glad that you were able to come on here, and hopefully it wasn't too scary.
No, it was great. Hopefully do it again soon.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, you'll be right in my backyard here soon. So,
right.
And hopefully you'll be around here even more in the near future. So,
yep.
Shoot, maybe get you over here to do a live one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, man.
Crack out the Xbox or something.
hey, I am looking at the TV. I've got the 55-inch TV, and we can do Xbox or whatever else you want to play. I've got Halo. I've got all kinds of great games over there, so we can definitely have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, man. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful night, and hopefully I'll be able to see you on that Ozark Mountain Show.
For sure. It was a pleasure being on here. I appreciate it.
Hey, listeners. I'm glad you're enjoying what you're listening to. I'm Billy from Zero to Hero Podcast. I'll always be joined by Jim, and me and him are the Folk and Skull Podcasting. Definitely, if you love what you're listening to, then come swing on by Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you find your podcast, we'll be there too.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Dawn.
And if you've ever watched a TV show and thought to yourself, oh my god, that season finale plot twist was absolutely bonkers.
Or seen a movie and thought, wow, I need to talk to somebody about this train wreck immediately.
Then we think you'll fit right in with our podcast, I Hate It, Let's Watch It. We watch TV shows like Riverdale and Emily in Paris.
And movies like Deep Water, Killer Sofa, Rubber, and Deadly Illusions. And we give them the total rinsing they deserve.
It's basically group therapy for movie masochists. So come check us out wherever you stream podcasts.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Colt Killbane, and I just want to thank him for being on my show this week. I really am grateful for all the guests that come on here and take time out of their busy schedule to come and have a conversation with me. So thank you, Colt, for being on the show, and hopefully I can get you back on again here in the future. I want to give a shout out to my podcast networks, the OIW Podcast Network, the Avenue Podcast Network, and the Zero to Hero Podcast Network. If you like my show and you want to find something else to listen to while you're waiting on new episodes of mine to drop, go and check these guys out so you can find stuff with them as well. They have all kinds of great podcasts. No matter what you're looking for, you can probably find something that is right up your alley to listen to for a podcast. I also have merch out. I have t-shirts, as you know. I have stickers, have 2 different kinds. I have a new design that is coming out here soon, so make sure that you are looking for that. My wife makes all of my merch for me. She has a side hustle called Cups and Teas by Stasha. If you want anything made, whether it be a t-shirt, a hat, a tumbler, you name it, she can make it. So make sure that you go and hit her up, Cups and Teas by Stasha, for any of your custom needs. If you need t-shirts for an event or something like that, I know that she can produce those as well. She's made stuff for Diamond State Wrestling when it comes to merch for some of the other wrestlers, as well as some of the shirts that like I use for doing the rare cut and things like that. So make sure that you go out there and hit her up. I've got her Linktree in my show notes. If you like my ending music, my ending theme song with D-Cure, whenever I tell you I love you guys, if you like that song, go out there and follow D-Cure. I will have a link to his stuff in the show notes as well. He has all kinds of great stuff. I also want to give a shout out to Original Geek Comics for allowing me to be part of their Paladin comic book and allowing me to have an advertisement in there. If you're looking for great new comic book content and awesome stories, make sure that you go out there and follow Original Geek Comics. You heard me talk about Diamond State Wrestling. So I am part of Diamond State Wrestling. I've talked about it in the show. We have an event coming up on October 29th. We have Diamond State of Emergency. It is our next big event that is coming up. The main event's going to be a triple threat ladder match, and we're also going to have a strap match that night. So make sure you can come out on October 29th to be at the Diamond State of Emergency show in Springdale, Arkansas at the Diamond Dome. I'm part of the Rare Cut, as you know. I'm also a backstage correspondent there. So in the last week, you haven't seen me on the actual show, the Rare Cut. Jake has taken over my spot on that show. However, I'm still with them, and I'm working on another project right now that will be coming out here soon. And when it gets closer to time, I will be announcing what that project is. I'm very excited about it, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it as well. But make sure that you keep up with everything Diamond State Wrestling. Go to their YouTube page. I have it in my show notes, and you can follow the Rare Cut and see everything that's going on with the show, as well as watch a lot of the shows that have already happened. So I am all over social media. If you want to follow me on there, you can go to pretty much anywhere and look up If You Give a Dad a Podcast. You can also look me up on Google. I should be the first 10 to 15 results. Go out there and follow me. Show me some love, and maybe I'll be able to follow you back as well. If you want to send me an email, send it to giveadadapodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you guys and telling me what you think of the show, or if you have a suggestion. I actually had somebody reach out to me the other day and suggest a guest, and I was able to get them scheduled for the end of December. So you guys will be seeing that kind of stuff happen more often. The more you guys send those to me, the more I can get people on that you guys want to hear. So as you're listening to this, make sure that you go out and rate and review this episode. Tell me what you think, whether you liked it, whether you didn't. Just let me know. Leave me a 5-star review if you liked it. That way people will be able to find the show more, because the more people that review this show, the more likely I am to be discovered by somebody new. And I'd love for this to just be shared around everywhere. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this. Hit the notification bell wherever you're listening. That way you are notified when there's a new episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. So, we've come to the end of another episode of IGDAP. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a great time talking with Colt Killbane, like I said before, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this show. But now it's time for Billy's favorite part of the episode, and that is Dad Joke of the Week. How did the barber win the race? He knew a shortcut. All right, everybody. I love you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
I'm in my room grounded, but I got a podcast on. He calls us beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, the world blocked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what, I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I need a connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. Listen closely, download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely, download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.